Hello, everybody. Welcome to Scotty B Show. Hope everybody's having a great day or a great night. So I got one story from you for the veterans. So this is Japan marks end of World War II as survivors remember wartime emperor's surrender speech 80 years ago. So I got this off of military.com. Friday is the 80th anniversary of then Emperor Hirohito's announcement of Japan's World War II surrender. But as living witnesses die and memories fade, questions remain in Japan about how the war should be taught to younger generations. A national ceremony will begin at Tokyo's Budokan Hall at noon, the same time then Emperor Hirohito's 4.5-minute pre-recorded speech began on August 15, 1945 on national radio. Hirohito's responsibility for the war remains controversial today, and Japan has struggled to come to terms with its wartime past. Both at home and in the Asian countries it's brutally invaded. In 1995, then Prime Minister Tamichi Murayama apologized over Japan's aggression in Asia. It was welcomed abroad, but there has since been continual pushback against it by revisionists and those who deny responsibility. Here's a look at the speech and the memories of some of the people who heard the announcement. Now, I'm not going to read the whole speech to you. I have the whole speech, the original in Japanese, and I have the translated version in English. I will try and put that in the comments section for you if you want to read it. Japan's military saw violence, suicides, and chaos right up until the official surrender. Even after the atomic attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, there were disputes within the military government over if or how the war should be ended. The day before the announcement, Hirohito, dressed in a formal military uniform, met with top government officials in a bunker at the Imperial Palace to approve Japan's surrender. Staff members for NHK, the national broadcaster, were secretly called in, and Hirohito recorded the speech twice, finishing late that night. Palace officials hid the recordings to protect them from sabotage attempts by a group of Army officers, who at one point seized the broadcast facility. Despite the chaos, palace officials safely delivered the recordings to NHK for radio transmission at noon on August 15, 1945. Up until the moment of the surrender announcement, there were suicides, coup attempts, fighting among Army officers. The action-filled drama of the days before Hirohito's radio address was made into a film, Japan's Longest Day, as well as a graphic novel. Hirohito's voice, which most Japanese were hearing for the first time because he was considered a living god, was not easy to understand because of poor sound quality and the arcane language he used. The message was clear, though. Japan had lost the war. Fumiko Doi heard the emperor's address at home in Nakagasi, just 6 days after surviving the atomic bomb. She remembers that her neighbors gathered at her home to listen to a radio placed on top of the cabinet. She did not understand what exactly was said, but later learned it was the announcement of Japan's surrender. It was not a surprise because she had heard her mother say that Japan would lose. I only wish the emperor had issued an order to end the war sooner, she said. The bombing and an attack on Hiroshima 3 days earlier together killed more than 210,000 people and left many survivors with radiation-induced illnesses. On August 9, 1945, at 11:02 a.m., she was on a train 5 kilometers, 3 miles away from the location a U.S. B-29 dropped the atomic bomb. Her mother and 2 of her 3 brothers died of cancer, and two sisters have struggled with their health. Relief and tears as the emperor's speech reached a hospital filled with wounded. Riko Muto, who survived the massive Tokyo firebombing just 5 months earlier as a 17-year-old nursing student, was at her hospital on August 15th. Everyone gathered in an auditorium for an important broadcast. People cried when the emperor's muffled voice came on the radio. The first thing that came to my mind was that now I could leave the lights on at night. I was also relieved that the war was over, she said. On March 10, 1945, U.S. firebombing of Tokyo killed more than 100,000 people. Truckloads of people with serious burns cried in pain and begged for water. But because of a shortage of medical supplies, the best she could do was to comfort them. But the end of the war didn't immediately end the hardship. Her hospital and nursing school were occupied by the Allied powers, though she managed to graduate 2 years later and pursued a career in pediatric nursing. What we went through should never be repeated, she said. For Tamiko Sora, a Hiroshima survivor, the surrender speech is a bittersweet memory. Sora, her two sisters, and their parents barely survived the atomic bombing on Hiroshima, August 6, 1945, when the blast destroyed her home just 1.4 kilometers, 0.9 miles from the hypocenter, and Sora's face was burned. Her grandmother suffered severe burns, and her uncle and aunt were never found. While taking shelter at a relative's home, her parents listened to the radio broadcast. The sound quality was particularly bad in Hiroshima because the atomic bombing destroyed key infrastructure. Her grandmother, who died later that day, sounded disappointed about the announcement, Sora said. Her grandmother's generation venerated the emperor, and his acknowledgement of Japan's defeat must have discouraged her far more than the rest of the family imagined, Sora said. Despite the sadness of her grandmother's death, the surrender speech gave Sora peace of mind. War brings horror and intimidation, even to little children, she said. The Emperor and Prime Minister speak on August 15th. Hirohito's son and grandson have repeatedly expressed deep remorse over the war. The Prime Minister, since 2013, have not apologized to Asian victims of Japan's aggression amid a government lean toward revisionism. Hirohito's grandson, current Emperor Naruhito, has repeatedly stressed the importance of telling the war's tragic history to younger generations. He has traveled to Iwo Jima, Okinawa, and Hiroshima, and is expected to visit Nagasaki and with his daughter, Princess Aikyo, in September. Prime Minister, who has signaled a more neutral view of Japan's wartime history, has said he is determined to keep passing on the tragedy of the war. But his leadership comes as emboldened ultra-conservatives in his party try to force him out over a July election loss. So here's the original text. I'm going to try and put it in, I think, the comment section because it's too long for the description. This is the original in Japanese. And then they have the official translation to English. To our good and loyal subjects, after pondering deeply the general trends of the world and the actual conditions obtaining in our empire today, we have decided to effect a settlement of the present situation by resorting to an extraordinary measure. We have ordered our government to communicate to the governments of the United States, Great Britain, China, and the Soviet Union that our empire accepts the provisions of their joint declaration. to strive for the common prosperity and happiness of all nations, as well as the security and well-being of our subjects, is a solemn obligation which has been handed down by our imperial ancestors, and which lies close to our heart. Indeed, we declared war on America and Britain out of our sincere desire to ensure Japan's self-preservation and civilization of East Asia. It being far from our thought either to infringe upon the sovereignty of other nations or to embark upon territorial aggrandizement. But now the war has lasted for nearly 4 years, despite the best that has been done by everyone. The gallant fighting for the military and naval forces, the diligence and assiduity of our servants of the state, and the devoted service of our 100 million people. The war situation has developed not necessarily to Japan's advantage, while the general trends of the world have all turned against her interest. Moreover, the enemy has begun to employ a new and most cruel bomb, the power of which to do damage is, indeed, incalculable, taking a toll of many innocent lives. Should we continue to fight, not only would it result in an ultimate collapse and liberation of the Japanese nation, but also it would lead to the total extinction of the human civilization. Such being the case, how are we to save the millions of our subjects, or to atone ourselves before the hallowed spirits of our imperial ancestors? This is the reason why we have ordered the acceptance of the provisions of the Joint Declaration of the Powers. We cannot but express the deepest sense of regret to our allied nations of East Asia, who have consistently cooperated with the Empire towards the emancipation of East Asia. The thought of those officers and men, as well as others who have fallen in the fields of battle, those who died at their post of duty, or those who met with untimely death and all their bereaved families, pains our heart night and day. The welfare of the wounded and the war sufferers, and of those who have lost their homes and livelihood, are the objects of our profound solicitude. The hardships and sufferings to which our nation is to be subjected hereafter will be certainly great. We are keenly aware of the inmost feelings of all of you, our subjects. However, it is according to the dictates of time and fate that we have resolved to pave the way for a grand peace for all the generations to come by enduring the unendurable and suffering what is insufferable. Having been able to safeguard and maintain the kokute, we are always with you, our good and loyal subjects, relying upon your sincerity and integrity. Beware most strictly of any outburst of emotions which may engender needless complications or any fraternal contention and strife, which may create confusion, lead you astray, and cause you to lose the confidence of the world. Let the entire nation continue as one family from generation to generation, ever firm in its faith in the imperishability of its sacred land, and mindful of its heavy burden of responsibility and of the long road before it. Unite your total strength to be devoted to construction for the future. Cultivate the ways of rectitude, foster nobility of spirit, and work with resolution, so that you may enhance the innate glory of the imperial state and keep pace with the progress of the world. Tokyo, August 14, 1945, 20th year of Showa, Prime Minister Katero Suzuki. And I will try and post that in the comment section. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you all have a great day and a great night. We'll see you next time on the Scotty B Show.